Hello y'all, hope you're all doing well. This is RJ, live in Burgaw, North Carolina. Burgaw, North Carolina is the county seat of Pender County, here in front of the Pender County Confederate Memorial, dedicated to Pender, who I'll talk about here real soon. And also the courthouse dates back to the 1930s. This is the county seat of Pender, and I'm right here in downtown. Been here multiple times before, and thought I'd walk around the courthouse grounds, because there's not only this beautiful memorial right here, but there's also one on the back side I wasn't aware of until just a few moments ago. And so this is an example how even those like myself who have been to many Confederate memorials over and over and over still find new ones. So I wanted to share this with you. This is primarily dedicated to William Pender. He was a Major General in the Confederacy, and he is the namesake of this county. This county was formed back in 1875, and so he became the namesake for this county that was formed. Now, Burgaw itself was formed back in 1850s or so. So I thought I'd share this with you. A beautiful memorial. It was dedicated back in 1914. You see right here, 1861, 1865, in honor of the Confederate soldiers of Pender County. Major William Dorsey Pender, February 6, 1834 to July 18, 1863. I can read about his extraordinary life. He went to West Point and commissioned out of there in 1854. And from there, he was commissioned as a U.S. Army officer. He was a U.S. Army for quite a long time until the war broke out. And of course, he chose to serve and protect his home and his family and his homeland in America's largest, deadliest war. Went out to serve and to distinction in many noble, many battles, including the Battle of Sharpsburg and Seven Pines, Antietam. Ultimately was killed there in Gettysburg at the Battle of Culp's Hill. You can read about that. He was one of the youngest Confederate generals. He died when he was only 29 years old. You can see right here, it says, "Let future generations remember that these were men whom death could not terrify, whom defeat could not dishonor, that truth, courage, and patriotism endure forever." Here, Pender County was formed from New Hanover County by the legislature of 1874 to 75 and was named in honor of Major General William Dorsey Pender. It's from Edgecombe County. I just shared a video from Edgecombe not too long ago. That's in South Carolina. Quite a few notables there, very historic place. It's erected by the Pender County of the United Daughters Confederacy. It's also worth mentioning that the United Daughters Confederacy led the efforts to collect the private donations from family members, grieving locals, mothers, daughters, sisters, brothers, husbands. They collected those, and I appreciate their efforts for spearheading and appreciating their ancestors who fought in America's largest war. Many are buried in unmarked graves and unknown locations, so it's very important that they have a memorial dedicated to them. Half the money was actually raised from one gentleman alone who served under Pender. He was very generous, and he provided half the total funds for the cost of this particular memorial right here. I see there's a new historical marker in the background. Talks about Pender County Courthouse. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a transition over, and I'm going to walk around the courthouse grounds and maybe walk a little bit down Main Street. Last time I was here, there was a classic car show right here. That was very cool. So I'm going to walk over this way and just walk down the Main Street. Always like to see the Main Street. And then I'm going to walk around the back side and show you the other memorial that's over there as well. One that's easily overlooked. You see the Pender's Arts Council. You got an empty building right here. It looks like what is an art place right here. It looks like a drugstore. Well, it's not quite a drugstore. It looks like more of an arts type place. Here's an antique store. If I have a little extra time, I'll stop in here, because I always love going to antique stores, if you know me. But I'll be going to a couple stores to get today. I plan on going to the Rebel Shop and over there just south of here. And also I plan to go to a place called the Dixie Shop. It's the Antique, which is in Myrtle Beach. This place right here is only about 20-minute drive north of Wilmington. In fact, this county is one of the largest counties in North Carolina, and it borders the Atlantic Ocean, so the coastline. There's a shop here, it looks like it's closed. Was a department store right here. Whenever I walk through these little towns, I think of that song by Alan Jackson, The Little Man, how they built this town. It's like the what remains of a barber shop that has closed down, unfortunately, for rent now. But I always love to see these historic relics of the past, like right here. Saw this a lot more when I was a child. Don't see this as much. It looks like a brewing kind of company right here. You see the water tower up here, Burgaw, North Carolina. Just continuing on, there's another antique store right here. All kinds of different antiques. I do go in stores once in a while and share videos, but I like to ask permission in advance. Can't see all that. Looks like there'll be a new building over here soon. So once again, this is downtown Burgaw, North Carolina. We're now going back on the Pender County Courthouse grounds. Here's the angle from over here. You can see the beautiful Confederate memorial. Once again, it's just out here in the distance. Now, there's lawn cutting crews around here. It might get a little noisy. So I'm walking here on the Pender County Courthouse grounds. Once again, the namesake. This was named after a major general in the Confederacy. This county formed back in 1875. Burgaw itself, this town, was first settled back in the 1850s. But once again, William Pender, who was a major general in the Confederacy, was West Point grad, served in many battles, served under Robert E. Lee, became a major general in the Confederacy at 29, one of the youngest generals in the Confederacy, and was killed, I think it was Cemetery Hill, there in Gettysburg. He died in Gettysburg at just the age of 29. And I'm walking up to a place that I wasn't even aware of until about 30 minutes ago. And it's amazing how, even though I've walked around here and I've been in this courthouse a half dozen times, I wasn't even aware of this until now. I do this so we can pay our respects together and bring this to your attention and spread education, bring this to your awareness, pay our respects together. And that is right here. Easy to miss, right? And it says right here, do a little zoom in. (1861 to 1865), Company K, 3rd North Carolina Infantry Regiment, CSA, composed of volunteers from what is now Pender County, was organized at Northeast Academy near this spot. The company left for active duty on June 10, 1861, and rendered valiant and sacrificial service with the Army of Northern Virginia until surrendered at Appomattox April 9, 1865. Of the original 140 men, 60 gave their lives and 42 were seriously wounded. So just think about that. That's why we don't forget. They served honorably in America's largest war. And think of the casualty rates, something you never ever haven't seen since. Once again, Company K, 3rd North Carolina, of the original 240 men, 60 gave their lives, 42 were seriously wounded. And that's pretty commonplace across the South. If you follow my videos long enough, you know that the war between the states, also called Lincoln's War on Americans, also called the War of Northern Aggression, also called the War for Southern Independence. There's many other names. Most popularly known as Civil War. That became by far the deadliest war in America's history. This ground cutting crews over here. The police station, sheriff's department is on the other side. I'm gonna avoid them as much as possible. A lot of these courthouses, and of course usually the sheriff's offices and police departments are right by the Confederate memorials. So I'm walking over this direction. I'm gonna walk from the other way over to the Confederate memorial that's on the other side here. Walking here on the Pender County Courthouse grounds here in Burgaw, North Carolina. Once again, this county is the far southeast corner of the state. In fact, the part of the county borders the Atlantic Ocean. It's just only about 20 minutes north of Wilmington, North Carolina. Fort Fisher is just south of there as well. So I'm coming up from this direction. I was a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses hanging out. They were sitting on the monument when I first got there, and they volunteered to move when I took a photo and video. So the other perspective right here. So once again, we want to share this with you today. Here on the Pender County Courthouse grounds, named after Major General William Pender, serving the Confederacy as a West Point grad. Was killed in the war in Gettysburg. Definitely very deserving. Just finishing up my thought. Across the South, it's why we don't ever forget, because across the South, typically about 3 to 4 times more Americans, Southerners, died from those counties than every other war combined. I've been to county courthouse grounds, that list of names of all those who died during the war, and typically the number of names of those who died during the war is about 3 or 4 times larger for those who served in the Confederacy than every other war combined. So typically what you find is, you know, some names of those who died in the American Revolution, or Vietnam, or Korea, or the Spanish-American War, or World War I, World War II, and typically the list is much longer for those who died in the Confederacy than every war combined. And the big difference is many in the Confederacy are buried in unmarked graves, unknown locations. That's not the case in the other wars. And the other difference is this represents those who actually fought and died right here in America. The war came right through here. That's why it's so important. Whereas all those other foreign wars were places on the other side of the planet. Alright, I'm going to make a transition over here. There's some other war memorials. I always like to share those as well whenever around. Once again, just downtown. Pretty pleasant right now. My short sleeve shirts and shorts, of course. Temperature only got down to about 67 degrees last night. But so far pretty pleasant. And mainly I'm coming down here because I want to be at in Columbia, South Carolina, at the Capitol grounds, the State House, where they're going to raise the Confederate flag there, hosted by flags across the South, which Braxton. And so once a year they allow the Confederate battle flag to be raised. So here's the other section. And it puts in perspective where we're at. See the Confederate memorial off in the distance here, and you see this looks like a head marker right here. Unknown seaman found on topsoil or on Topsail Beach. He was found back in 1947. This right here, dedicated this 29th day of May 1989 in honor of the veterans of Pender County who'd paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of their country. This lists those for World War I. See about 3 names there. World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And so once again, it's why it's important to remember these are foreign wars that took place on our side of the planet. Confederate memorials are dedicated to those who served right here in America. But these memorials share a lot in common. And these Confederate memorials are really all about what it says right here. Lest we forget, we're not here to forget the sacrifice of those who served. All right, so it's coming back around this way. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this video up soon. From this perspective over here, one last view of this. Once again, downtown Burgaw, North Carolina, on the far southeast corner. Can really get to the South Carolina state line, maybe half an hour's drive or so from here. What I think I'll do is I'll finish this up where I started, right in the front. A lot more cars here than usual. I prefer to come here on the weekends when there's nobody here, but it just didn't work out on my schedule. In fact, I have to flow my drone here and to capture as respectful as professional videos as I could in the past. And I just don't like to do so on days like this where there's people out. I mean, you still can. Nothing wrong, it's all public area. Hi there. So leaving us with you today from once again here in Pender County, Burgaw, in Burgaw, North Carolina, here at Pender County Courthouse grounds. Take care, y'all.